know those of you who are a fan of spectacle might be a little disappointed because even though Star Trek Into Darkness isn't as bad as I thought it would be, I'm not doing any dancing. My original promise was to dance around if this movie convinced me that the Star Trek series isn't over, and although it's not as bad as I thought it would be, it hasn't sold me. Star Trek Into Darkness. I have coins. I admit, Mr. Abrams, you almost had me. I was almost ready to dance around proclaiming your name. Almost. I mean, this movie started out well. You have the team on a new alien world that we've never seen before, trying to prevent a disaster. You have aliens we've never seen before, a heavy focus on exploration, and some very impressive effects, I'll give you. Honestly, when I saw that, I was like, okay, this is a good start. Maybe they actually did really good here. Who knows? Maybe I was wrong. So it was one little step from being really, really good, but no, giant step down a big gorge, and they fucked it up, and they fuck it up the way they always fuck it up. That being an unoriginal story and a cast that still has issues. Star Trek Into Darkness is basically Star Trek The Wrath of Khan the remake, except thoroughly altered. Now, let me just start off by saying that this movie wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. There are a lot of improvements in a lot of specific areas that I do admit do help the movie. But the biggest problem this movie has was the story. Now let's recap. This movie takes place several years after the first one, with Captain Kirk and his crew being reprimanded for that opening I told you about by saving Spock's life in a volcano, trying to basically save a civilization. Lo and behold, tragedy strikes, and Kirk has to take up the mantle of captain once again to go find this new assailant who killed several of Enterprise's highest-ranking members by traveling into the unknown regions into Klingon space. Okay, we're off to a rocky start, but who knows, maybe this could improve. I mean, we're seeing the Klingons, which is something a lot of people have wanted to see from this series. Maybe it'll pick up. Well, the Klingons are completely pointless in this movie. Their main purpose is to show up and to allude that a war might be starting and then die. They don't have a single dialogue that's English. It's all Klingon based, which is understandable, and you don't see them again. They show up for one fight scene and that's it. Something else this movie does is it shows the something else this movie does that is interesting is that it shows kind of the more corrupt side of Starfleet with the leader of Starfleet giving Kirk 72 missiles and threatens and tells him to use them on Khan to try and kill him. Oh, by the way, yeah, it's Khan, but I'll get to that in a second. When Khan realizes this, he surrenders willingly and goes aboard the ship. He tells Kirk that the missiles are actually his fallen comrades. It turns out the entire thing was actually a ploy by the Starship Commander to start a war with the Klingons because he thought a war was imminent. He used Khan's technical knowledge to build him a super warship that's only purpose is to destroy Klingons. Funny fact, a general whose goal is to stop the Klingons from taking over the galaxy is gonna provoke a war on purpose. One he knows would be devastating. Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. Totally. You know, you can't just, I don't know, not do anything. Another interesting thing about this movie is they actually kind of make it seem that Khan might be in the right. I actually thought this was an interesting move on their part. They actually make it seem like the leader of Starfleet is the evil one, and Kirk and Khan actually go onto his ship to try and take him out and free Khan's people. Now I was thinking, okay, that's an interesting turn, turning Khan into a good guy. I don't understand why, but okay, I can live with that. And they do something very interesting here. I will give them credit for this. This is where I thought the movie could have gone into a pretty good direction. They do kind of a remake of that last touching scene from Wrath of Khan where Khan's ship blows up, but the Enterprise is severely damaged and Spock goes and sacrifices himself in the engine room. But in this series, they actually do a straight-up reversal. Kirk actually goes inside the thing, stops it, but dies in the process. And him and Spock have this touching scene where they're touching each other behind the glass, like in the original, but it's a reversal. Now, as the scene was happening, I was actually impressed. I was like, okay, not original, but an interesting twist. It does show that it does reinforce the whole alternate universe thing, and it is a good showing of emotion. I thought it was really well done. But then they pull one of the stupidest moves they could have pulled. I actually thought that they were above this. I thought, okay, you know what, maybe I should give Abrams some more credit. Spock, you know that famous line from the original Wrath of Khan, where Kirk yells out Khan's name in anger when he's being trapped underground? Well, that's in this movie. Spock yells it when he realized Kirk has died in the engine room. That was retarded. First of all, Zachary Quinto's voice is so deep that him screaming just doesn't even sound right. Second of all, oh my god. You just had to pull that, didn't you? I guarantee you that line was thrown in just for marquee value. Just to make a callback, just in case we didn't realize this was basically a remake of Wrath of Khan yet. That line isn't even what made Wrath of Khan good. But you had to put it in. And why didn't you just have Scotty yell it? He was at least there, it would have made more sense, but Spock doing it is just so out of character. And what's worse, Kirk doesn't even stay dead. They use Khan's regenerative blood to resurrect him. That's stupid. You should have left him dead. I mean, at least, if you're going to be a remake, at least be faithful. Maybe you could have left him dead and then maybe have set it up for the next movie. I know Spock coming back in Return of Spock involved his Vulcan heritage, but maybe if you could... But they could have thought of an interesting way to make that work, but no, they just bring him back. All the force of him dying, all the emotion, all that was for nothing. In Wrath of Khan, when Spock died, you were convinced he was dead. He was dead at the end of the movie. Most fans didn't even know he was coming back in the next movie. That's what made the scene so powerful. But if you're just going to resurrect him, it made that entire scene pointless. Pointless. This is the movie's biggest flaw. It's not original. It just throws in references to the original series. And I don't mean clever little things. I mean references. There's Spock calling the old Spock. There's the whole engine scene with them touching hands. There's the shout of Khan. There's the scene where they even mention the Gorn. Yeah, they mentioned the Gorn in this movie. First of all, I fucking hate the Gorn. That episode wasn't even that good. I don't know why he's so popular. Oh wait, I do know why. Because that fight scene was shit anyway. Because it was so ridiculous. I mean, why? They have Klingons, but they're pointless. It's just all for its own sake. Think of something new. This movie, honestly, has shown me something. It shows me that this universe they created could be good. There were scenes, honestly, that made me believe I was watching a actually halfway decent Star Trek movie. There was more exploration. There was better action. There was more character interaction with the main cast. But it's just hampered by an unoriginal story and cast members who I don't think fit the role. I still think Chris Pine is way too young an actor to be Kirk. Zachary Quinto, I will admit, did do better in this role as Spock, but he's still not perfect. He's not Leonard Nimoy. The actress who plays Uhura, I will admit, her performance is miles better than in the first movie. That's just because in the first movie she was just crap. Oh my god, it was so close. You could have had this really good Star Trek movie, but the references and the fucking cast members, it was so close. I was ready to dance around, but no. You basically did a crappy remake of one of the greatest movies of all time, and you took out so much. You took out key things. You took out Khan's wife. You took out Savick. You took out Genesis. You can't do that. At least if you're gonna remake Wrath of Khan, at least make it faithful. You didn't even need Khan for this movie. That villain that they had could have been anybody else. He didn't act like Khan. I'll compare him in the end, but he literally could have been anybody else. The name Khan was strictly used for marquee value, and you guys know that. Even you guys who like the movie, you can't deny that the only reason they used Khan's name was because it would sell tickets. I'm just at a loss for words here. It was so close. I was convinced, but no, you fucked it up again. There was even less bloom. They actually went down on the bloom effect. I was happy about that. There is still bloom, but it's not that bad. You saw more of the ship. There are some good scenes. But no, the story was just crap. Not right, Mr. Abrams, not right at all. I'm sorry, but it just pains me, because it was so close. So close. But damn it, I mean, talk about sidestepping just to fall off a bridge. Make it original, have something new. You have hundreds of planets in this universe that haven't even been touched. Or just come up with an entirely new villain. Let's talk about what I think you're all wondering, curious about my opinion about. What do I think of the new Khan? Well, in this time around, Khan is portrayed by Benedict Cumberbatch. Decent actor, okay. Wouldn't have been my first choice, but he's a good actor. How does he compare to Ricardo Montalban? There's not even a comparison. Ricardo Montalban is miles ahead of Cumberbatch in terms of acting, even in other roles. I mean, his portrayal of Khan, I mean, they did get a few things right. Khan's subtlety, his genius intellect. You are convinced this guy is a genius. But they give him the weirdest personality. He's not stern. He's not in charge. He's not like, you're not convinced he's the leader of a people. They actually kind of make him kind of just a generic villain who actually is kind of savage. I mean, I know Khan's thing was basically, he was a genius intellect, he was a superhuman, he was a leader among leaders, but he was ultimately humbled by his obsession to get revenged, and that caused him to just, overthink things, or not think things through, or just burst out in anger. But with Cumberbatch, since he's the only one of his people, you're not feeling that same dynamic that Montalban had. You're not feeling that same sort of quality. He just lacks the grandiose nature that Montalban had. He just comes off as an animal. I mean, I know he's supposed to be a younger version of Khan, but even in Space Seed, where Khan is significantly younger, he was in control, and you really felt like this was a war leader who who could lead his people. But you don't see, with Cumberbatch, he's just an animal. And so he wasn't as good as Khan. He wasn't as good as Montalban, not even close. He did better than I expected him to, but he didn't seem like Khan. He seemed like a different sort of character, because they even kind of alter his physiology a bit. Like, Khan, they gave him healing abilities. And I do know, and Khan did have that, but not to the extent that they portray in the movie. This movie has shown that this universe that they're creating does have potential. For the third movie, which I know they're making, I would like to see a completely original story, no references to the old movies, completely new. You could have the elements of the Star Trek series, but come up with something entirely new, entirely original villain, and an entirely original plot. You do that, and it could potentially be a really good movie. So this franchise has taken a small step towards reaching what the original movie series did do. It's just not as bad as I thought it would be, so I admit my wrongness there. Is it a good movie? No. Is it a good Star Trek movie? No. Better? Yes. Potential? Possibly. Original? No. Biggest flaw? Originality. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Subscribe if you like. Oh, and Michael Fairbanks, if you're disappointed about me not dancing, here's a little something for you. Douches in space! See you later. Well, there's another review in the can. Time to go edit. Oh, should have expected him to call. Hello? Look, how could you review the Star Trek movie without having me? Look, I gave you an entire week to review Star Trek movies. I think I could have this one. No. Our agreement was, you guys do the theme weeks, I do the mainstream reviews. Well, how do you know how I think of the movie? Trust me, I have a pretty good idea of how you think. Oh, by the way, I've detected some strange anomalies ranging not too far from here. Seems like something's giving off some weird energy signature. Would you mind checking it out? I'll take a look at it. Live long and prosper, my friend. Star Trek, guys. Seriously.